Melatonin is commonly used and commonly misunderstood. Today, I'd like to tell you 10 things every parent should know about melatonin before giving it to their child. Number 1, melatonin is a hormone. Not everyone realizes that melatonin is a hormone, like growth hormone, thyroid hormone, or even testosterone or estrogen. Melatonin is produced in your brain by a structure called the pineal gland. It has many functions in the body, but the main one seems to be in regulating sleep and wake. It is the primary hormone involved in regulating the body clock. Normally, your body starts secreting melatonin about 30 minutes before you fall asleep and stops producing it around the time you wake up. That's why it is sometimes called the hormone of darkness. It's pretty goth, right? Number 2, because it's a hormone, it needs to be used with a physician's guidance. Hormones are powerful chemicals secreted in the body. When you think about it, it's funny you can buy melatonin over the counter. And in fact, in other countries like Australia or the European Union, you actually need a prescription to get melatonin. Because it's marketed as natural, there's a widespread perception that it's totally safe to take. In the short term, melatonin is very safe. You can't really overdose on it in a dangerous way, unlike other sleep medications. There are limited long-term studies in children of melatonin safety. None of them have shown any ill effects. The best study of melatonin in children followed 80 autistic children who took melatonin for 2 years. It showed no effects in terms of growth, weight, height, or sexual development in these children after 2 years of treatment. However, compared to most medication studies, this study was quite small. Thus, it's hard to say for sure that continued long-term use of melatonin is not going to have side effects in the future that we're not aware of. If your child is taking melatonin, please tell your child's pediatrician. Number 3, melatonin is not regulated by the FDA as a medication. Rather, it's regulated as a food supplement. Thus, there's much less oversight in terms of the quality of the medication, its concentration, or its labeling. There can be a lot of variation in terms of how well your child absorbs each different preparation of melatonin, or variation in the dose from batch to batch, even in the same preparation. Much more than we would expect in a medication like ibuprofen. One study showed that over-the-counter melatonin preparations could vary as much as 478%. So if you're giving your child 1 milligram of melatonin, your child could be receiving up to 5 milligrams. Number 4, melatonin's primary effect is on sleep-wake timing. We call these effects chronobiotic effects. Melatonin at small doses, say half a milligram, taken 3 to 5 hours before bedtime, will move or your child's sleep schedule earlier. We commonly use it this way in teenagers that can't sleep. Less commonly, melatonin can be used in the early morning for people that awaken too early. A secondary effect is the hypnotic or sleep-inducing effect. This is the reason why most people are giving melatonin to their children. For this effect, higher doses, most commonly 1 to 3 milligrams before bedtime. However, not everybody has this hypnotic or sleep-inducing benefit. If you've tried melatonin and your child's sleep hasn't improved, they may not respond to it. Number 5, melatonin has been shown to help children with many different problems fall asleep. These disorders include persistent chronic insomnia, autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, eczema, and the body clock disorder called delayed sleep phase syndrome. In these contexts, melatonin seems to help children fall asleep more quickly and get more sleep at night. Number 6, melatonin cannot overcome bad sleep hygiene. This is actually true of any sleep medication. Melatonin is not a substitute for good sleep practices. Your children should have a consistent time they go to bed every night and a good bedtime routine. Their morning wake time should be fairly constant, even for tired teens. In fact, for teenagers with insomnia, we usually recommend that they not sleep in more than 1 or 2 hours later on the weekend if at all possible. Except in younger children, less than 3 years of age, napping in the afternoon should be avoided if your child has problems falling asleep. And even in the age group where napping is common, say less than 3 or 4 years of age, late afternoon napping, 3 to 4 hours before you expect your child to fall asleep can interfere with falling asleep. Number 7, screens and electronic devices suppress natural melatonin secretion. So exposure to screens, tablets, smartphones, and even televisions in the evening can affect when you fall asleep by suppressing natural melatonin. If your body's making this chemical to help you fall asleep, don't use devices that are actually going to reduce your natural melatonin. Adults and children should try to avoid screen exposure 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. Teens who have to do homework in the evening on laptops or Chromebooks may actually benefit from blue blocking glasses. And children should absolutely not have televisions, tablets, or smartphones in their rooms at night because we know that they have bad effects on kids' sleep. Number 8, most parents use too much melatonin for their children. High doses of melatonin can actually lead to nightmares, nighttime awakenings, and daytime sleepiness. High dosing also affects the body clock by having melatonin be present in the bloodstream 24 hours a day. In our clinic, for problems falling asleep, we generally start at 1 milligram of melatonin and increase weekly by 1 milligram to a maximum of 3 milligrams in children less than 88 pounds. In children 88 pounds and up, 5 milligrams is okay. Clearly, if 1 or 2 milligrams has the desired effect, you don't need to go higher because you're risking side effects. Number 9, melatonin is most helpful for problems falling asleep, not problems staying asleep. Thus, if your child falls asleep without difficulty but is waking up at night, melatonin will probably not help and may actually make the problem worse. Number 10, and this is the most important one, most children with sleep problems don't need melatonin, just a behavioral treatment plan. Unless your child has autism, ADHD, or another disorder interfering with sleep, there's a good chance his or her sleep problems can be addressed with a behavioral plan. I actually wrote a book called It's Never Too Late to Sleep Train, which details sleep strategies that work through elementary school for your child. And I encourage you to pursue these strategies instead of melatonin. Even if you decide to use melatonin, you still should use a behavioral sleep plan because you don't want your child to have to need medication to fall asleep indefinitely. So that's 10 things I think you should know about melatonin. Let me know what questions you have, leave them in the comments, and if you found this video useful, please press that like button and also subscribe. Thanks.